Hey Spuddies, Pandemic Whiskey here, and welcome back to Let's Play Steel Division Normandy 44. Now today we're going to be playing, well I say playing, we're going to be making a new deck, and this is going to be the 2E Devilish Baguette division, because we're going to be playing the French. The 2E Blondie, or the 2E DB, Devilish Baguette, as I like to call them. This is actually surprisingly an armored division, but I think what's really unique about the 2E Blondie is that it starts off with a really high income, and it has quite a good mix of recon infantry and tanks. There's a few other things that are unique about them, or more interesting in contrast to other tank divisions. The big thing is they don't, generally speaking, they don't have phased C units. They're very much so a division dedicated to winning in the very early game. We're talking like the first 10 minutes. When we say winning, we mean taking land, and then the remaining of the game is trying to shore that land up and hold it. You know, if we look here, very few phase C units, lots of phase A and lots of really good phase A units, and quite good phase B units, but then typically they lack in phase C. And you see this pattern, like they only have these in phase C. They're not built for phase C. Very much so a phase A and B kind of division, which I don't know if that's the way I like to play, but I'm going to give them a shot and see how I do. Just kind of do a quick look through their units. Now, let's get started with the Recon. Now, the spies, and the group spy. So it's really a choice between, do I want the Jeep and the 4-man squad, or do I want the Jeep MMG? And I think, personally, I think I like the Jeep MMG, personally, because I don't like to use my scout units as fighting units, so taking the machine gun Jeep would be better. Now in Phase B, I would like to try out these M3A3 Bahis, which are like a very light tank with a fairly decent gun, actually, surprisingly. Very lightly armoured, kind of comparable to the M8, with a slightly beefed up machine gun setup, because it has the coax machine gun, the hole mounted machine gun, and then the on top machine gun, whatever that one's called, I can't remember. So if you like sort of compare these, the M3 and the M8, the M3 is a little bit slower. It has equitable stealth, it has the same sort of same things in general. It has one extra machine gun of a lower caliber, so technically the M8 is better at longer range against infantry, but the M3A3 is better at like getting up and fighting, and has a little bit more armor, so it can possibly take a couple of those glancing blows and maybe eat up a bit of damage from similar sort of tanks. I think there's certain vehicles that have, you know, 4 to 5 armor penetration, and this just gives it a better chance at surviving those. So we're going to bring these in Phase B. I want to play around with these heavy weapons. I would like to bring some M8s in Phase A to play around with those. They're comparable in price. In Phase B, I think it would be good maybe to bring some scout cars, some motorized dudes, and then I would probably want to bring some M20s. I feel like this is a very much so a mechanized setup here I'm going for. Very heavily motorized, I would guess. I'm not sure. Maybe semi-motorized, heavily mechanized sort of scouting I'm doing. I'd say it's sort of somewhere between. I'd say this is like motorized. I would say this is mechanized recon right here that I have set up. You know, very much so. I have armored vehicles for pretty much all of my recons with some recon infantry. In terms of infantry themselves, I would like some leadership units, and I will take these Voltigeurs. I don't know if I'm not really a huge fan of machine guns, even though this is this is a light machine gun. I think they do have the 12.7mm machine gun though. Yes, they do, and that's an 800 range machine gun with fairly decent accuracy for its range. I'll take some basic riflemen. This is definitely where the division is very weak, though. It does not have very good infantry. So I'll take a mix of Voltigeurs and Pioneers. This is definitely not where the division is strong. I might actually take some Nueves, just for fun, I think. And then in Phase B, I'll take some sappers for the grenades, and then I will bring the Voltigeurs slightly stronger, because I think these ones, they have more machine guns. They have 2x 7.62mm machine guns, so that's pretty good. Light machine guns, I think. Yeah. Now in terms of tanks, so this is very much geared towards using half tracks and infantry in the early game to push. Particularly these Nueves are very strong, it seems like that, in fighting other infantry because they are quite experienced. So I'm interested in playing around with those. So if we have a look here at our tanks, now in terms of tanks we have the Char CMD, which I think means chariot. I don't know why they call it Chars, but I think it might be chariot or something. Phase A, I would like to bring some M5A1s. I definitely think that's a viable thing to do. If we look here at the command tank compared to the M5A1, the main difference is that the M5A1 has a slightly bigger gun, similar range and machine gun setup, but the gun on the gun on the M5A1 is just slightly more powerful in terms of its caliber, as well as the armor being slightly better. So I don't know if I will bring any command tanks. I think we might bring a command tank just to see how that goes. And then in phase B, should I bring a command tank here in phase B? And I think the only difference really between the command tank and the thing is availability. So I'll bring a couple of very experienced units, and then some not so experienced units. Although we'll see. And then in phase C, so I've got a lot of tanks in the early game, some decent ones in the mid game, and then in the late game, we're going to want to see what we can do here. I could take less experience. See here, the M3. This seems like a really powerful tank. Has a very big gun, extremely experienced. I think we'll take one of these, and then we'll take a gang of the M4A3s. Probably the more experienced one. So this seems like a pretty good setup to me. This is a 76mm version, which has a slightly higher penetration, slightly better accuracy, and a pretty decent increase in range actually. But otherwise, same chassis, different gun. Alright, so moving on to support here. I think I already have a pretty decent amount of command units, although bringing command units is interesting. I kind of hate flamethrower units, like, extremely. I do actually really like the 50 caliber Jeeps, so we will bring some of those, and we will want some resupply units. The question is, do we bring them in the phase A or phase B? And I've never really needed them in phase A, to my knowledge, so I think I'll bring them in phase B. Now we could bring an M8 in phase A, which is sort of like the M8 of the earlier, but has a weaker optics. Or I could bring these sort of more heavy guns. I might actually give up my Jeeps here, although I do need some cheap units. Although I'm gonna be extremely heavy on machine gun units in general here, so I think it's actually perfectly acceptable to go without, because I'm gonna have a lot of these half tracks which can serve the role of these Jeeps. So instead, I might take some of these. I might take some M8s and some obtusier M8s. If we have a look here, very long range, pretty low accuracy, but a very large explosion radius. So it could be very, very good for clearing out enemy infantry. And we are going to need weapons that do well against infantry because we don't particularly have things to deal with them. So what's the difference between the M8 and the M4A3? I think it's mainly armor, right? So the M4A3 has a bigger caliber weapon, same accuracy, slower rate of fire, bigger range, bigger AoE, more machine guns, better armor. Yeah, I think I'm pretty excited to use these things. I will bring some of these in phase B, and then I'll bring some in phase A as well, and then I want to bring some M8s. To act as light tank, sort of light support weapons. Now, in terms of anti-tank, I kind of filled out my support thing, but that's just because I had so few of them. We're still kind of following our pattern of leaving one open. Now, the anti-tank department, I think I might skip on bazookas here. I like the idea of taking a bunch of these M1A1 or M10A1s in the late game. I've got that open top. But they have a fairly large gun and a fairly long range. Fusil Majon, Marine. They could be interesting to play around with. I've kind of turned away from anti-tank infantry, but I wouldn't be against taking some. And if I were to take some, it would be the Fusilier Marine. That would be sort of the direction I would go, especially since they come with a deep. So I think when I take the experienced ones, I'll take the experienced ones just so that if I have the need of them, they're there for me. The 57, I could take some 57mm. I would like to take a big tank destroyer in the early game. I think that could be really fun to play around with. And then take like a bunch of these cannons in the mid game. And then rely mostly on my tanks to do my anti-tank work. Perhaps, yeah, I think that sounds like pretty fun. I think this seems like interesting. I'll have one anti-tank in the early game, and then they'll sort of, then we'll rely on our tanks and the stuff like our Spahis and the M8s to cover our anti-tank in the early game. In terms of anti-air, I think I'm going to take, well, if we're going to be going for the early game win, I don't mind taking some Bofors, because especially since they have a little bit of experience. I'll take these motorized Bofors, which have experience, they're motorized, and stuff like that. In fact, I might even take, I think I want motorized AA in general, to keep us mobile. So I'll take some of these M16s, which I think these are quad guns compared to the M15, which is a 37mm. I just get this. Yeah, this is a 37mm. Looks like it has one 37mm and then some 12.7mm machine guns for support fire. Yeah, let's go for the Bofors. What are you? You're 40mm. What are you? You're 40mm. I think your accuracy is a little bit worse, but your accuracy you just have, yeah, actually you just motorized is just better, it seems. So I'll take some extra Bofors, and then that'll form the basis of a pretty good motorized AA deck, I feel. Pretty experienced AA guns with some, so I've got 10 AA units. That's a lot to use actually. I will want some mortars in the early game. And then I could take the R.U.S.E M7, and I think I will take some of those. I would like some artillery observers, especially because this comes with its own machine guns and 10 armor, so it's pretty good at fighting in general. And then I will take some slightly bigger mortars maybe, or I could just take more of the smaller mortars. I'll take the slightly bigger mortars because that seems like it'd be interesting to have a good mix. Then in the air department, I don't really like. I'm not a fan of using these scout planes. I am really excited at the prospect of using these smoke bombers. So I'm going to take some of those smoke bombers. I'm going to take some Spitfires probably. Let's have a look. What's the difference between these? These are early game Spitfires. Do I want two? I think I'd like them earlier. Well, I could probably survive without fighters in the early game. I am going to want something to deal with anti-tank. So I think a P-38 Lightning here, perfectly acceptable. And then I'm going to want some sort of bomber to try and hold back any of these heavy weapons that I might run up against. So let's take the DB-73. This looks like a fairly good mix. So is there anywhere we could pull away units? I think maybe this is overkill. I probably won't use these OBCs, so I'll pull them out. And then I could put in maybe more infantry, because we are pretty light on the infantry department in general. I might not even use the smaller mortars actually. So maybe it would make sense to just stick with the bigger ones, or either or, you know. Yeah, let's get rid of the smaller mortars, and we'll just live with the big ones. And then with that, we'll be able to grab a little bit more infantry. I like the idea of taking some more of these Nueves because they're really experienced, so I want to try and play around with them a little bit. And then maybe some more Recon. Take a second M8 in the early game. Yeah, that seems like interesting. We could play around heavily with these M8s. Yeah, and I think this is a pretty good deck, so I'm going to save it. And I'm going to call this the sort of deck building episode, and then we're going to jump into the game. So I want to thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please remember to subscribe if you want to see more episodes, and if you want to directly support my channel, please leave a like on the video. And if you want to give me feedback on what are your thoughts on this deck, leave a comment. Other than that, I want to thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I love you all very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.